Despite every effort to lose that game, the Florida Gators beat the LSU Tigers 82-80. We're going to talk about it here on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another bonus live episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Tuesday night, almost a very sad Tuesday night. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33. And man, not all wins are created equally. I want to say that one before I say the next part where I'm going to seem like a Debbie Downer type. I'm not going to pretend that I'm happy with that win. I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to pretend that I'm happy with a game where Florida was up 14 at the half. They were up oh my God, Ben Simmons is in here. Ben Simmons, Brooklyn Nets legend. Ben Simmons is in the chat. Oh man, what's up, dude? I bet you to get 3.5 points the other night. You got zero field goal attempts. Wild stuff. But I'm not going to pretend that I'm super thrilled with that win. Florida shot 4 for 17 from 3, and I get it. There's just days where they're not falling for you. They were animals from mid-range. I mean, 4 for 17 from 3 leaves you at 29 from 51 from the field, which is pretty damn good shooting percentage from 2 at least. But it's one of those games where I cannot get over the amount of times that this Florida Gators team has had the lead at the half, a sizable lead in the second half even, and either lost or almost lost the game. Like, that's just stuff that I can't get over because it's a consistent theme with this team. Like, yeah, congratulations, you beat LSU. 1, this isn't a good LSU team. And 2, that's a consistent theme that when you get to the SEC tournament and when you get to, hopefully, March Madness, buddy, that's going to kill you. And it shouldn't be a thing that happens as often as it does for Florida when you consider they've got good guards. And I feel like in college basketball specifically or especially, guard play in big moments is kind of what makes the world go around. And I joked about it. Was it Sunday when Florida played Auburn? I joked about it. Florida was up huge at the half. And I was just like, I sent a message to the subtext group and I was like, hey, like, I don't know about you, but I hate that I don't feel comfortable with a big lead here. And tonight, I felt pretty comfortable. I'm not going to lie. I felt pretty comfortable up 48-34 at the half. Ended up taking a little bit of a bigger lead there in the second half after going on a short run. After 4 minutes in, you were up more than 14. And then it just, again, teams just go, okay, we can chip our way back. And that is a terrifying thing for me, at least, that teams can just constantly chip their way back in against Florida because they know that Florida's offense can go pretty damn cold at any time. Like, it can just happen. Sunday, thank you, Antonio. I forgot if it was Saturday or Sunday, kind of all just mashed together. But it's also one of those things that's incredibly frustrating because it tends to happen when Florida just goes ice cold as a unit. Like, they just go ice cold. Florida had 8 turnovers in the entire game. Florida, unsurprisingly, dominated on the rebounds. Like, they dominate the glass consistently, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But they just have these moments where they just can't figure out a single freaking thing on offense for long stretches of time. And it's far too consistent where, yes, you won the game. I'm not going to pretend I'm happy about it. Well, okay. Obviously, I'm happy about winning, but I'm not going to pretend I'm happy with the quality of the win when we've got a Florida team that just is so wildly inconsistent. And consistently, that's the thing they do consistently, blow big leads in the second half. Riley Kugel made a jumper with 12 minutes and 8 seconds left in the second half. And then Florida didn't make a basket again until 4 minutes later when Tyrese Samuel had an and one. That was the last. They went almost 4 minutes of the second half without making a basket, without scoring a point. I said make a basket as if they had free throws. Without scoring a point, they went almost 4 minutes to do that. And that is atrocious. They had 66, and then they did not score 68, and then they scored 69 in that same sequence because it was an and one. And then so they scored that with 8 minutes and 39 seconds left. And then they didn't score again until 6 minutes and 35 seconds left. So there was a stretch from about 12 minutes and 10 seconds left in the game to 6 minutes and 35 seconds left in the game where they made 2 baskets, or we'll say, I guess 3 shots because one was a free throw after the end one. But that's way too long a stretch. 6 minutes of a 20-minute half is insane to not be able to score a basket at that point. And then they took another minute, and then it was just like, it felt like as we were watching that game, as we when LSU cut the lead to 10, that's when I was like, oh my God, they're going to blow this game. They're going to blow the game because I got comfortable. And that's how I perceive it. I got comfortable. And so Florida had to blow the game. Because the Auburn game, I was texting Zach Blackerby, the host of Locked On Auburn, and I was like, hey, man, I'm going to be pissed when you guys come back into this game. And then he was like, yeah, like I could see it happening. And then luckily it didn't happen. But man, like you can't go just completely ghost as frequently as Florida does in the second half, specifically in the second half. Like it's not common that they come out in the first half and lay an egg. But in the second half, they do it almost every single game, like that they have a sizable lead. And I don't know what it is. If it's they go into the locker room and they're just like, yeah, man, we're the shiznit. Like we're like, I don't know. I can't say the actual word I want to say. So I don't know if that's what they're doing. Like they're just like, oh yeah, like look at us. Like we're hot. You know what? We're hot stuff. And then they just completely overlook everything. I don't know what it is, but I feel like something has to change. Similar to how football with Billy Napier were like, oh, like you need to change your process, your pregame process, all that stuff. Maybe Florida has to do that for basketball at halftime because the second half sucks far too consistently and far too frequently. And maybe Antonio, maybe somebody got witchcraft on us. We were just dealing with the Louisiana folks. So you never know what they're going on because they're a wild bunch. If you have anything you want to get to in the chat, let me know. We're going to get to that in a minute. Before we get to that, though, we are going to get a quick word from a couple sponsors. This bonus episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's $150 if your bet wins. And I want to let you know, I'm not even pretending when I say this. Super Bowl Sunday. Yeah, Super Bowl Sunday. Cashed a bet that was Mecole Hardman and Jawan Jennings to score a touchdown. It was insane. It was plus 9,000. Like it was ridiculous. Just want to point that one out. And I feel very good about it. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. And remember that FanDuel is an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. This bonus episode of Locked On Gators is also brought to you by eBay Motors. With passion, drive, and patience, that's what brings home the winning trophy. And it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, which Florida could use in the second half of basketball games. Just saying. With over 122 million parts to choose from for your #1 ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your parts guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. For all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. And remember that eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day, every day, wherever you listen to the podcast. YouTube, I know right now we are live. And I want to thank you again for joining me because it is 10:30 almost Eastern time. So not easy to go watch that game, spend the final few minutes of it just in the internal angst of just like your stomach twisting in knots, or it could just be me. That might just be me, but it's not easy to go see that and then come in here. So I appreciate that and to hear more about it. But who was it that just said that? Keeley said if it's not free throw shooting, it's inconsistency. And that's the thing. Like tonight, it was a lot of things that happened. Like overall, yes, you won the game. We're happy you won the game. I understand I'm being critical. That's because not all wins are created equally. I said the same thing when Florida beat Charlotte 22-7, when Florida football beat Charlotte 22-7. I'm like, look, I'm happy that you won. A win is a win, but not all wins are created equally. Other wins are like some wins are evaluated differently than others. A game that I think you should handedly win and then you barely win, I'm happy you won the game, but I expect more of you. And that's what this game is. Like, this is a game where Florida should have won by, I'm not saying they should have won by 15 or anything, but like I thought this was going to be like an 8 to 10 point win. Instead, you were blowing them out and then you blew it again. And that's the frustrating part because it's also not just a one-off sequence like with Florida football. It wasn't just, oh, Charlotte kept you close. It was that happened after the Utah game. Then you had, of course, the McNeese and Tennessee games. But in a month, you had the Utah game and then you had this Charlotte game. And then you look at the 2022 season where for football as well, where it's like, all right, I was really pissed about the USF game, the South Florida game that you won. But again, that was right after your Kentucky game, which was a piece of crap performance. And so it's like wins are weighted differently. They are. And this is a game where Florida should have won handedly at home against a 12-11 LSU team. 12-11 LSU team, now 12-12. At home, you should have won that game by more than 2, especially when you were leading by 14 at the half. There's no excuse to almost lose that game. As a team, shot 4 for 17 from 3. That's 23.5%. LSU shot 11 for 21. It's a huge gap. Like, honestly, the fact that you won a game where the other team shot 30% better than you from 3 is pretty impressive in of itself. Florida shot 12 for 20 from the free throw line. That's, again, 60% is again, where Florida falls back. And granted, a lot of that was Riley Kugel. Went 0 for 3. Not that it was a lot of him, but, Florida had 8 missed free throws. He individually had 3 of them. Walter Clayton had another one of those nights where he's just not hitting his shots consistently. I mean, 2 for 8, 1 for 5 from 3. 1 for 5 from 3. So it's just one of those games, again, where it seems like a lot of guys aren't showing up at certain areas of what they're supposed to do. Like, yeah, Q. They always seem to go cold in the second half. And I don't know, because this is a team that they live and die by the jumper. That's what they do. They love to do that. That's wild, Matt. You just said live and die by the 3. Literally the exact, or at least when I saw it pop up was right when I said they live and die by the jumper. I don't know if it's that their legs are getting tired in the second half from shooting that many jumpers. I would imagine it's not the case when you've got 9 shots made at that point or 9 shots attempted at that point. I don't know what it is. If it's that they need longer breaks, because Walter Clayton Jr. played 35 minutes, Zion Poulin played 36 minutes. Tyrese Samuel played 29 minutes. And like Tyrese Samuel also should not be playing 29 minutes. And that is not a knock on him at all. He's just generally a pretty physical and hustle player. And like that's insane to ask him to play 29 minutes when you have Alex Condon and Thomas Hall. And so for me, I feel like the second half is still an issue for the Florida Gators. Like it's just still a thing where they just can't figure it out for the life of them. In fact, did they make? Yeah, Zion Pullen made a three in the second half. Was that the only three? Walter Clayton made a three. Is that it? Is it those two? They didn't make many. They didn't make many field goals in the second half in general. So wouldn't shock me if those were the two, especially considering they shot 4 for 17. So wouldn't shock me if that's how it went. And yeah, yep, those were the two they need to make. Those were the two they made in the second half. Maybe they need to go to the bigs. I don't know what the hell it is because again, I'm not a basketball genius by any stretch of the word. However, I can recognize and identify that this is a team that consistently blows it in the second half. And that when you get to the games that really matter, that's going to be a pain. Like the Auburn game, good for you. You had the big lead. You maintained the big lead. In fact, you might have even extended the lead from what you had at half to what you won by. I'll pull that up real quick before we go. So like the Auburn game, great, good for you. Congratulations. However, you've got quite a few games coming up where they were up by 16 at half in the Auburn game. They won by 16. You've got games coming up though where like you can't screw that up. You got Bama coming up in a week from tomorrow. You've got South Carolina at the start of the month, and then Alabama again a few days after that. You got Vanderbilt next week, who Vanderbilt just beat Texas A&M, who beat you. So yeah, this is a team that needs to figure things out because we're getting to the point where you got what, 7 games left? 7 games left. And you keep having these breakdowns in the second half. And that's just unacceptable because when you get to those games that matter, things are not going to go your way. They're already not going your way. They're really not going to go your way if you continue to do that same crap that you've been doing in the second half of games where you should be winning these ones pretty handedly. Right? Rough stuff there. Will Fisher said they go less aggressive offensively, try and kill the clock. Yeah, exactly. We talked about that. Was it the Kentucky game? I forgot which game it was. Where the Georgia game, I think it was, where they were just like dribbling out and then heaving terrible shots because they wanted to kill the clock. And it's like you can kill the clock and then have a decent shot, pick and roll there. Like just something. Like you could be like, all right, we're gonna dribble it out till there's 11 seconds left, even 9 seconds left. And then we're going to run pick and roll, pick and pop and see what happens. And then they're just like, and actually instead we're just going to dribble around. 2 seconds left, heave it. Like, I don't know what the logic is there, but it's bad. I know that. I know that's not a winning process. And that drives me absolutely crazy. Brett Brown said Kugel's either a momentum killer or totally unstoppable. Yeah, he's J.R. Smith. Like he's either just, he's J.R. Smith or he's Gerald Green in 2K. Like he's just unstoppable or you're not making a single shot with him. And it's absolutely wild stuff. But hey, gonna be in the NBA at some point, right? Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day, every day, or I guess considering the time, your last listen of the day, today at least. We'll be back tomorrow, talk more Florida Gators football. We're talking about fixing that pass rush because needs to be. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country, NFL 33, the analytics and the process. We need to get more consistent in the second half. I'm going to check my eligibility. Do it, Antonio. As long as you got legs that can play defense, so be it. But as always, I will see you all next time.